Greg. Mike. Two Bandits. Watching Bluey.
This episode is called Christmas Swim with special guest Joe Twist.
What up, party people, and welcome to episode 103.
Holy cow.
Of Two Bandits Watching Bluey. I'm your good pal, Greg Painter.
I see him. He's right there.
And with me,
Yes.
he's the world's best chef. And his name is...
I go by Mike Martin. Thanks so much, man. How are you today?
I am great. It is a lovely early morning. We are 7 a.m. And you know what that means? If
It's time
we're
to talk about
recording
Christmas.
At 7 a.m., it means it's 9 p.m. in Australia.
Okay, that makes
in
more sense.
Brisbane, where we are talking to the amazing. You may know him. I dug into your IMDb page. You may know him from the music department of Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Zoolander 2, Baywatch the movie, apparently at least one episode of The Simpsons, which is kind of awesome, and also a little show called Bluey. It's Mr. Joe Twist. Joe, welcome to the show.
Oh, hello.
The look you just gave when he ran down your entire IMDb there, you're like, oh, Lord,
It's
what
what
have I got
I
myself
do.
into?
That IMDb page is kind of scary, but I appreciate it. We could just pretend that I did lots of work on all of those shows, even though I didn't. But
Perfect.
I did more work on Bluey than any of the other shows you just mentioned. That's a fact.
I had a feeling, but when I looked down there, I was like, Star Wars? What? Zoolander?
Yes,
Joe,
and-
you're all over, man.
I worked at a certain company in Los Angeles, and a couple of companies actually. That's between two different companies I worked at. Slaving away, working for other composers over there, but none of it beats Bluey. I love Star Wars, but Bluey wins.
Bluey wins. We will agree with that. Bluey wins for sure. And we're here to talk this week. Our last episode we're discussing in season 2, Christmas Swim, which holds a special place in your heart. And I definitely want to get into all that. But a question I ask every single one of our guests, and especially for you, curious to hear your Bluey origin story. Obviously, you heard about the show a little bit earlier than everybody else is being part of it, but how did you actually get to be working and a member of the Bluey team?
So it's funny that you guys are in New York. That's where I met Geoff Bush. In the city, we were doing the NYU summer film scoring program. I guess it's called the NYU Film Scoring Program. And there's a couple, I was actually studying there, but Geoff came over and did the summer school just for a couple of weeks, and I decided to do it as well. And we all got to meet different composers like Mark Snow, Sean Callery. Both of them worked on the X-Files, Homeland, shows like that. And then lo and behold, this Aussie pops over as well, Geoff Bush. And he, was fun. I actually had never met him, which is really weird because we'd probably been on the same bus stations and maybe even the same concerts or the same pubs or whatever in Australia, but just never bumped into each other. He's a few years younger than me. That's true. But I happened to be over in New York, and there he was. And then we hit it off, and we shared our love of San Pellegrino water, which is a staple in a Bluey session for the music, by the way. And and then we worked on a whole bunch of things. That would have been in 13. Actually, it's 10 years ago. I remember now. Recently.
Anniversary.
2000 it was like June. It would have been 2013. That's when I first met him. I had heard of him before because I think he had some connections to a school I went to in Australia as well. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. But, fast forward to, we worked on a couple of TV shows together. There's a gardening show he worked on. I helped him out on a few short films. We were just young, starting out and having a go. But I knew he met, he was working with a guy called Daley Pearson, who's one of the producers. In fact, one of the, I think he runs Ludo Studio. He's one of the main producers of Ludo Studio with Charlie Aspinwall.
We may have heard of him.
Yeah, exactly. But he'd been working with him for ages. And then I remember it was 2000. I'd moved to LA in 2014, the year after. And it was about it must have been 2016, I guess. That would make sense. Maybe it was 2015, actually, when he first mentioned it. And he just said, by the way, I've got this cartoon coming up. I might need some help. I thought it was just going to be a theme song and a few things, but I might need some help. Anyway, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, and I always wanted to do animation. So lo and behold, it became, the biggest thing that I've ever worked on, and I'm just honored that Joff's, had me along for the ride. I mean, it's his show. It's Joe Brightman's show. It's everyone's show, but
sure.
The music is his bag. It's his sound. It's his gig, and I love that.
And it's very much a deal where the music is a character on the show. I mean, we've seen different things like Bluey without the music, and it's just a different program. So
Sure.
Definitely tip of the hat to all you guys over there.
Yeah.
But we're, again, very excited to talk Christmas Swim with you. But before we get to that, we have to see what our good pals at Wiki Bluey have to say about Christmas Swim.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah?
What's Christmas Swim?
The healers gather for a classic Aussie Christmas. Bluey gets a new teddy and introduces him to the whole family. But the family play too rough with him, and now he wants to go home. Hey, Joe, that's a teddy bear?
Bartlebee, he's a teddy. Yeah, of course he's a teddy, I guess. I mean, it's a toy, but I guess the word teddy is kind of, I know it's not specifically a teddy bear. I guess they mean that to encapsulate other toys that are.
At first I was like, that's supposed to be a bear?
It's like a casual representation of what a teddy is. So
Okay. Now we got that most important part out of the way.
Yes.
I want to know, because we told you we were about halfway through season 2 when we first touched base and said, is there one that kind of speaks to you? And you said this one. Can you tell us why? Like, why is Christmas Swim a special episode for you?
Well, Joff very kindly had me on the 2 Christmas episodes that currently exist, Veranda Santa and Christmas Swim. And I guess that's maybe because I tend to do a lot of Christmas music. I don't know why. I think I have actually about 3 or 4 arrangements of the 12 Days of Christmas, one of them including, the extensive work that I did on using that melody in Christmas Swim. So for me, I guess Christmas, I have the sound of Christmas. I don't know if I have the Australian sound of Christmas. I think it's just that I write very kind of optimistic sounding, bright sounding, I don't know, whatever it is that I bring to a lot of different projects that I do, not just Bluey. For some reason, Christmas just seems to go along with my sound. I don't know what that is specifically, but going beyond the music even, I think that, Christmas Swim represents the Australian Christmas experience perfectly. We're all upside down here, and it's middle of summer, particularly in Queensland, where Bluey said, obviously, it would be hot and probably sweaty, although sometimes it just rains on Christmas Day randomly. That does happen anyway. But a typical
You said wet or dry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is a little summer, so you do get more rain in the summer usually because it's warmer, but because it's more humid, I guess. But even when it is humid or is raining, it's like a swamp. So you want to go and have a swim. And of course, it's all about, like it is all over the world, it's all about family coming together, and it's all about how special that is, and just sort of savoring that moment and relaxing and enjoying company of the people that are most special to you. But you're doing it in super tropical, hot, sweaty weather. So what more could you want to do than go for a swim? And it's just like a typical, there's all different types of houses in Brisbane, I guess, but one type would be like your sort of, I guess, 1960s, 1970s brick house with a pool at the back. Hopefully, if not an above ground pool. I had an above ground pool in my house growing up. I didn't like it very much, but
same, sir, same.
Yeah, so you've got to open your presents, and then after you've worked up a sweat because you've been sitting there, particularly before we had air conditioning. I mean, we did it in my house growing up, but now if you don't have aircon and you're just sitting there getting excited and sweaty and loving all the presents that you're opening, then it's time to go for a swim, and you got to do it before you eat too. Otherwise, you're just going to lose your Christmas.
Sure, got to wait for the crackling.
Now, one of the interesting things you just said, you called Stripe's house one of the typical type of Australian houses. Whenever we see Stripe's house, at least when we're talking about it, it's like he's in a mansion. He's, rolling 7 figures or something because he's got it made in the shade, him and Trix. That's just kind of on par over there. We talked to our friends at the Hammer Barn podcast a while ago. It's like, all these scenes in Bluey, they have beautiful mountains inside. They're playing that up a little. No, it's magic here.
No, it's just real.
So is it just, it's magic there and everybody has a gorgeous house with a pool?
Yeah. I can't remember. I mean, look, yes and no.
Of course.
Rent is pretty expensive in Brisbane, but I dare say it's not as bad as San Francisco or New York, just to compare. Although Sydney would be pretty close. Anyway, I digress. But like the Bluey house is actually a lot more traditional, and it's a house that's typical to Queensland as a state in particular, where it features large verandas, and also you probably noticed that every room has a kind of grill on top of the door, like which is basically there for ventilation. I'm sure someone else has already talked about this somewhere in the social media, Bluey world, or maybe you guys talked about it before, but it's a Queenslander essentially. I think it's a smaller Queenslander. It's funny because I remember living in South Brisbane, which is actually a part of Brisbane called South Brisbane. It's sort of on the river opposite that big skyscraper that you always see in the show. On the other side though. And I lived it wasn't up on a hill, although it was in a sort of a gully, but it was such a not as well kept, let's put it that way, but the same period and style of house as the Healers. And it had those grills on my bedroom, and there was like a hallway that goes through the middle. There's always hallway scenes too. And there was a kitchen at one part, like a living room at one part, and then there's a nice back. So it's all about just getting the breeze through because, everyone just has air conditioning now in Brisbane, let's face it. And a lot of those Queenslanders are all done up and they're ventilated, But before that, it was all just about opening everything and getting all the breeze through, particularly during Christmas. And of course, when you have the whole family over, and if you dared to cook a Christmas turkey or something like that, which some people do, although I think it's madness in Queensland, you need ventilation, otherwise you're just going to be sitting there wetting. So, yeah. But there are also, I actually never really picked up, I probably missed, to be honest, I have to admit, there might be a few episodes I've missed. Were they, in Christmas Swim, are they at Uncle Stripe's place? Is that where they are? Or
yes.
We're hanging at Stripes.
I wanted to
Swim
make
is
sure.
Stripe, and a Veranda Santa is at the Healer's Prime.
But Stripe is smart because he grills too, so he didn't do it.
It's keeping it outside.
They had to go for the crackling, of course. It all makes sense.
Yep.
And I do like the opening. We're doing the gift exchanges. We've got the lovely score. I loved good old Nana and both kids the same present, world's best chef. And then just that quick little, let me get my glasses. And then we have that big epic reveal, Bartlebee.
Good old Bartlebee.
I enjoy that. Everybody in the family's like, ooh, we got the new stuffy. It's time to go.
That's it.
Now, when it comes to, I'm going to be the slight music nerd here, but like we talked about how the music is just as important as the voices of the characters.
Oh.
Where does the balance come in of when you and Joff are creating the music and when the characters and actors are putting out their voice tracks? Is it a correlation, or do you get the layout of what the episode's supposed to be and then you can create the music based on it? Because a lot of it is just cohesive so smoothly that it's...
True. We usually get what's called an animatic, which is like a unanimated or very minimally animated, even just stencil drawings, usually no color, or maybe a few, maybe some of the backgrounds have been done, and they're just like, stick figures almost, like, going across
like a storyboard almost.
That's it. Yeah, it's basically a slightly animated storyboard, exactly. And as a result, they've usually recorded, if they haven't recorded all of the voices, they've recorded, they'll have scratch tracks. So like sometimes even Charlie, sometimes even Daly, they're just like a voice for a while because they haven't recorded, and then they chuck him in later. So in the end, there have been times where we would do like a demo, like we'd read a script and we might do a little demo, but we would tend to just do something small or just something to test. Or it might be something that's required because they want to put it in the show. And if they're singing, for example, an example of that would be movies where Joff wrote those songs and then they had to sing to the songs. But usually it's kind of the voices are there in this sort of very rough animatic, this storyboard type thing. And then we work around that, which I think is best because in the end, The story is what governs it all, and then we react to the story in that way. So that's probably why it sounds cohesive. But in the end, I mean, so many times when we're going back and revising, there's a lot of, oh, you're stepping on that line. Can you take that out? Can you move this over here? So that it all feels like it's like inevitable and all very clear in the end.
Well, I think the best example of that, too, not to skip to the end of this episode here, but when they show the feast at the end and just the music building throughout the reveal of all the food on the table, like beautiful animated food, and then just like, I want to say trumpets, just kind of like, dun, 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 when you see the crackling there at the centerpiece, it just flows so, mwah.
Yep. Oh, I was just going to ask, like, the test, the sort of musical test or the quiz, I guess, is you might recognize that the show has 12 Days of Christmas as the melody that I used, but there's also another melody in that final dinner scene, in that feast scene. Do you know what it is my question.
We Three Kings.
Oh, good. You do know. Okay, well, there you go. See?
I'll point out
got
what
you, my
Mike
friend.
knows. Mike, you're not seeing the reverse angle of Mike. He's right in front of 3 electric guitars, a ukulele.
Don't worry about it.
He's got a band member. He's our music boy. He's a good music boy. I'm just here hanging
Oh,
out.
I should have realized. I should have looked closer. See, it's just because we didn't use like it's sort of is 2 sections to this melody, as you know. You know, we three, da, 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 but we use the star of one, the star, which is like the B section. We just use that only. So sometimes people actually haven't been able to pick it up when I've talked about that before. Like, oh, what is that Christmas Carol? And it's like,
I should have built some suspense there. I apologize. I should have made you be like,
No.
oh, I got him.
What could it be?
I love it. No, I was.
It makes you feel better. I had no stinking clue, so that was all you, buddy.
Love it. Love it.
But just a very fun episode. It flows very fast. It's a very we meet Bartlebee, and Bartlebee gets to meet the crazy healer clan, having issues with getting splashed at the pool. I think one of my favorite parts of this, and again going back to the music, when we're playing classic catches, and just we're slow mo in the air, the music slow mo's on there,
And you get the no vocals are going. It's wonderful. Question, because this is people that have only been in New York and not Australia at all. Are classic catches based on something through cricket? Is that like a... Okay, you just gave that little nod like, of course it is.
It is.
Okay.
It's funny for me because I'm like the only Australian in the world who doesn't like cricket.
We found one!
Ooh.
Not the episode or the show, obviously. Nothing to do with Bluey at all.
No.
The sport itself. It goes on forever. Really. It's like we have to play. They play the same team for like a month, and they keep going on and on. I don't understand it. Anyway, I'm not. This is why I work in the arts, as they call it over here, the arts or entertainment. So
We are creative minds. It's okay.
yeah, well, look, classic catches is absolutely a part of cricket. It's all just about, trying to catch. I mean, sure, it's basically some very similar to baseball in that way.
Yeah.
Like the ball's, you're standing here and the ball's going that way and you just make it and you dive for it and do that kind of
The
thing.
highlight reel, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But doing it in a pool is just that extra thing. Obviously, you don't play cricket in a pool. No. You could try.
And I do love good old chili dog grabbing it with her mouth, going. Whenever they're actually dogs, it just makes me smile. But we do have a nice guest star here coming up because we're having a rough day.
Joe's right here.
Another guest star, also on a tablet, because Bluey's having a rough day, and Fairy Godmother comes to try to explain stuff. And if this is something that it's just monkeys singing songs here and don't overthink it, but we hear Trixie called Aunt Trixie when she answers the phone. There's been rumors and whispering online that people are expecting a wedding episode later in season 3. In your opinion, and you might not, and you can plead the fifth too.
Unless you've already been composing music for the wedding.
In your opinion, are Rad and Trixie married already?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm actually don't know what's in store for what's coming up, to be honest. I've never watched Bluey, believe it or not. I've watched a whole bunch of it, but I've actually watched it, chronologically. So I'm not aware of I obviously know that there's these things happening, but Yeah, I think I need to, even just to answer from what we have already, I'd need to actually sit down and watch chronologically to know when is what. I get things a little bit mixed around sometimes. So
it's funny because when they release these, because when we do these podcasts, we do it chronologically based on the Australian release date because we're nerds and that's how we did it. But in the States, they did Double Babysitter, and then the next episode was Christmas Swim. So we just meet Trixie, and now she's Aunt Trixie, but having an actual couple months release window difference, which it sounds like it was originally, it kind of makes more sense that we had that fast romance and now married a while later. But I guess we'll find out as the rest of season 3 comes out. And I was going to save this for a minute from now.
I really wonder if that may have been because there was a delay for, I mean, this is all just a bit technical, but I wonder if that was because there was a delay between the Australian release and the US release. But they might have pushed Christmas Swim forward to get the Christmas episode out for Christmas, essentially. I was surprised if that was one reason why you got it that way. I'm not sure.
Last week we recorded the episode Easter on Halloween, so we don't believe in chronological order here.
It makes absolute sense to go right to
podcast.
The Christmas episode right after we celebrated Halloween.
It's all pagan holidays, whatever.
There you go, see?
And I do have a question because you're talking about upcoming things. You mentioned earlier the 2 Christmas episodes out so far. Can we expect a third?
Starring Joe Twist?
Well, the answer is not that I know of. I'm sorry. And I'm not just saying that.
We trust you. It's okay.
I was looking for that exclusive.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But if there's another one, I hope I would be considered again because I don't know. I'd like to think that like the Christmas world of Bluey is kind of got a little bit of Joe Twist in there. So, but we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be like a different kind of Christmas for some reason. I don't know how that would be, and maybe it doesn't need me for some reason. But
give yourself credit. What are you doing?
Maybe Bluey throws even bigger tantrum this time, like she does in Brand the Santa. I don't know. I can score that though. I can make that feel optimistic.
We believe in you 100%.
Cool.
But a great episode here. Like I said, we have the epic food. We have the gravy made proper. That's another fun there. Just having the in-law dig, that slight in-law dig by Nana. Most delightful old lady in the world, but got to make that gravy proper. But before we ask you 3 questions, we want to see, do you have any closing thoughts, closing opinions on Christmas Swim?
Well, I suppose I would just drive home the way that the episode expresses how special Christmas is in terms of family. And you know what I think is really, I kind of already said this, but I just want to say it even more clearly. What I think is great about Christmas Swim is that we go from just having like all out craziness and fun, when Bingo's on that sort of float and then she's being attacked by Uncle Stride. And then they're playing classic catches. And then within a minute, we're like very inward and very reflective. And I mean, I know like almost every Bluey episode does that so well. But I just feel like I love that it does it in such a clear Christmas way and such an Australian Christmas way too. So I don't know. I just take my hats off to the writers and, all the people. And even I take my hat off to Joff for directing me because really he's the one who called the shots and kind of is the puppeteer behind me whenever I'm doing an episode, that is. So, I just feel like even though it's a Christmas episode, I love that they don't just do something silly. It becomes really meaningful and special. So, yeah.
You're talking about the play. I can't let this episode end without mentioning to Muffin running late for work, running around, diving on the floaty. Where's my lipstick? See you, kids.
Very good.
But
so
good.
Good.
So we have, like I mentioned earlier, we have 3 questions. I'll throw it to Mike first, just so you can see how we do this. But hey, Mike.
Bud.
What was your favorite thing today?
You actually said it right then and there. My favorite thing was the when Muffin is running late and she has to put on her lipstick and she goes, I have to open the door, and she runs in and puts on her lipstick. And then I sat there and thought for a moment. I'm just like, is there ever a time in the entire show, when this is just being weird about it, of course, that you see anybody actually wearing lipstick? I know we have this weird thing about clothing and all that kind of stuff, but Muffin had to throw on the lipstick, even though Doggo's maybe it's like skin toned lipstick, so it matches. But that was my favorite thing. What about you, Joe Twist? What was your favorite thing out of Christmas?
I just wanted to quickly pick up on that too. Like and just to give a shout out to our amazing violinist Yuka Snell, who's played on pretty much every episode. And I'm just remembering, that fabulous moment between Chili and Muffin, playing that game. And if you listen to the music, obviously it's still Taught as a Christmas, but you've got Yuka just killing it, like playing the energy of Muffin, like rushing, and they're going. It's just like she killed that, and it was so much fun. But I wrote all the notes and stuff. I think she changed a bunch and stuff because she writes. I said whatever works better on the violin, you do your thing. It's all very collaborative. But I just was watching it again before I came on and was like, wow, she really killed that. She carried the energy of Muffin, like playing this game where she's running late. I just love it. So yeah.
What about you, Greg?
We have to let Yuka know my daughter just started violin, so if she needs an understudy, I'll send her my number.
Totally. Look, if you do need, she records fantastically. We love the work she does. I actually used her on a feature film just recently, which is completely like nothing like Bluey. It's a horror film. It's really full on. She just nails it every time. She's just really great to have, like, make your music sound better, basically.
That's awesome. What about you, Greg? What was your favorite thing today?
My favorite thing had to be Nana making that gravy proper, and just that kind of fourth wall breaking, Trixie looking right, like deadpanning the camera that's not actually there. Just the whole in-law feel of those little tiny comments. And it's just one of those spots where a kid watching, this show for kids that adults love, not maybe going to catch that, but the adults, the parents, the people that in-law watch, like, oh yeah, been there, done that. So that would be my favorite thing.
That's it. Yeah, I love those little Easter eggs they always throw in there. Just little, like, subtle Aussie, not just Aussie, I should say. Some of them might be a bit Aussie, but
sure,
subtle adult was the word I meant to say. Quibbles, just little subtle ones that are thrown in the show.
Just
I love
adds
that
it for you. Well, then, do you have a favorite character from this episode, Joe?
Oh, Bartlebee for sure.
Hey,
even though I thought about that earlier. Like, even though we're talking about Bartlebee being a teddy, I think when they're doing that synopsis, they do mean it in the sense that a teddy could be any kind of fluffy toy that could represent a dog or a cat. And of course, I think I said it was sort of human, but actually no, it's got the ears. It's actually a dog, like the characters in Bluey, really. But I think Bartlebee's great. You know what's great about Bartlebee? She's a toy of few words, and she just goes along. She's very easygoing. No complaints. Puts up with it.
The expressions change as it does escalate a little bit here and there, where like she gets hit and she's just like, I'm good. And then at the end, the broken arm.
It is crazy how a stuffed animal can be so because I was thinking the same, because yes, Andy right there, Joe. I also had Bartlebee as my favorite character. Just especially that end where Bandit smacks her into them into the gravy and just comes out just like big, almost an awkward smile, like, yeah, this is great. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, true. I just realized that Bartlebee does kind of sound like a boy's name. It doesn't matter what the gender of the toy is.
Of course.
Just one,
and the wrapped up arm.
It's just, it just made me think about that for a minute. But yeah, it's like so. And even just the name Bartlebee, like it's a bit of a dorky name.
It's so peculiar.
Yeah.
On a show with Cher Landers and everything else that we got, Bartlebee fits right in. Mike, who was your favorite character?
My favorite character was Muffin. She was fantastic. She just maintained the excitement that I felt like everybody was feeling. But of course, Muffin she takes it to 11, and she's just enthusiastic. It's Christmas swim! Right after the presents are done. It brought the joy of what the day I think everybody was feeling in that day. So
look, Muffin's quite well behaved in Christmas swim.
Very much so.
Like I feel like Christmas is like her thing. Like that's her holiday. Like if every day was Christmas, maybe she would be really well behaved. You know what I mean?
That's a tall task.
I just get that vibe from Muffin generally.
Love it. So then, Mike, how do you rank Christmas Swim?
I rank Christmas Swim. I got my inner Muffin kicked in there. I rank Christmas Swim one quality 7 a.m. decision that we made to record an episode of Bluey because I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. What about about you, Joe? Do you have a way that you can rank Christmas Swim?
Well, that's a good question.
It is.
It's pretty high for me.
That's why we ask it.
I don't know, because I have, even though I didn't work on episodes like Turtle Boy, for example, which I just hold as so high I have such high regard for the episode like that. I think it's just an absolute genius piece of art. And of course, Sleepy Time, I don't know, so even though I didn't work on either of those episodes, and which I did, but I was busy on other episode, including this one. But maybe I would put it pretty high, again, because I think it's almost like, even though it's all based around Christmas, I feel like it has so much of what Bluey has to offer, like that sort of inward reflection and that sweetness, and then it has all the craziness, of course, as well. But also, it's got like even the whole conversation with Aunt Trixie is just such another moment too that's interesting and not something you'd find in other. I'm not going to name anything, but I feel like that's just a very Bluey thing. Like no, I can't think of any other kids shows that are aimed at that age that do something like that, so well. So yeah, look,
100%.
I'm rambling on about what I love about it. We've already done that, but look, it would have to be close to the top, surely. But I've already mentioned Turtle Boy and Sleepy Time being kind of a little bit higher in ranking, in my opinion.
And those will fluctuate. That's how opinions work. It's okay. Greg, what about you? Is it possible for you to rank Christmas Swim?
I rank this one classic catch with one epic guest. Joe, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
We really appreciate after we had our own Easter debacle last week where we were a day late and $1 short on our time zones, you being flexible, you're working with us, so thank you for that.
Oh yeah, just so everybody knows, we booked it and didn't know how time zones worked with Joe and thought it was going to be Friday our time at 7 a.m. And Joe reached out to us saying, hey, I'm about ready. What's going on? And he was able to work with us. So we appreciate that greatly,
Very
Joe.
much. Before we let you go, Joe, anything to plug?
Oh, well, so this is nothing like Bluey, but I have an opera being performed at the Sydney Opera House next year. My own opera.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, should be exciting. It was premiered at the Adelaide Festival. It is called, it's like a tragedy, and it's even based on a true story. Nothing to do with Bluey at all in many ways. But it's Australian. Let's put it that way. It is Australian at least. So it's called Watershed, The Death of Dr. Duncan. And it's actually, sorry to get kind of intense, but it's about bashing of gay men mostly. So it's about hate crimes. But it's also very uplifting, and it's all about love and it's all about homophobia and love and
Kudos.
And justice as well. So I don't know if anyone's interested. It is actually, you can hear it online if you type in full Watershed Duncan. Just type in those words, it'll come up. You can listen to it, and it sounds amazing in my opinion, if I may say so. And it'll be performed at the Opera House, Sydney Opera House next year.
Congratulations. That's
Next
phenomenal.
year. That's amazing. That's got to be, I can only imagine the feeling of having something in the Opera House. So good for you. That sounds great. We'll make sure we put that in our comments too.
Thank you.
Really quick on our side, linktr.ee/watchingbluey. Merch, Patreon, socials, all that good stuff there. Rate, review, subscribe. P.O. Box 2372. Syracuse, New York, 13220. If you want to send us a postcard or anything neat like that. And lastly,
Ooh, and most importantly,
if you want to up your pool and spa game like Aunt Trixie and Uncle Stripe, check out the Pool and Spa Gurus on Beckett Road in Brisbane, Queensland. All your pool, supply, and maintenance needs. If you don't believe me, believe Debbie B, who said, a true family business. Nothing is a problem. The compassion and support Richard and team provide to my family during a recent event was absolutely amazing. Highly recommend. Check them out at poolandspagurus.com.au.
Joe looks so confused right now.
Why am I hearing an ad about something down the road, like on a podcast in Syracuse, New York? Like,
somebody early in this podcast might have accidentally said New Zealand instead of Australia like a fool, so that somebody might now be cursed to give a free ad to a Brisbane business every single episode, tangentially related to what we listen to.
Well, you're a good man for honoring your mistake and paying back for it. Good on you. Fair enough.
It's what I do. Joe, thank you again. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
Hopefully, maybe we'll talk again because we enjoyed ourselves. You know why we want to talk to you again, Joe?
Why's that?
Because it's got to be done.
Of course, it's just got to be done. Absolutely.
Yes.